So for movie night, we watched a movie called Unacknowledged, which I really wanted my audience to watch. Which, by the way, people have been asking me who are the political pundits that I watch recently on YouTube and on Patreon, actually. And I feel like I've mentioned it before, but I'll mention it again. The only person that I really watch at this point on a regular basis is The Same Progressive. There are other girls that I discover along the way that I will stumble across, but then I'll start getting into their material, and then perhaps maybe I discover that they aren't as objective as I need them to be, and then I have to clock out. Because at this point in the conversation, you know, for the girls that are somewhat grandfathered into my life, that's one thing, because girl, at this point, I've tried to get rid of you, girl, and life had other plans. But for the new girls, Miss Thing, girl, please, my Angelou don't even have to warn me. Because at the end of the day, bitch, show me a red flag if you want to, bitch. It'll be the first and last time, because I'm not going to be dealing with no bitch that is inconsistent who was a new bitch in my life. I don't have the time. I won't make the time to deal with the bitch that is newly introducing herself into my life and that is not serving me a plate that I am asking for, girl. So it's very easy for me to be like, girl, it's paid. No, it's paid. And no hurt feelings one way or the other, girl, because at the end of the day, like my friend was saying, I am just the one person. But I'm going to take my one person, my one body, and my influence and whatever I bring to the table, girl, and I won't be shedding a light on this because, bitch, I'm not going to prop something up and give a bitch credit when I feel like that bitch is not serving the plate that needs to be served. That's just the way it is. Now, if I feature you, girl, I think I'm in a place in my life where it's like, if I feature, girl, I'm going to push for you. If I don't, depending on what the offense is, girl, I might just sit in solitude and let you on about your way. Or if I'm really not seeing it for you, girl, I may just have to blast you, girl. And when I say blast you, I don't mean on a personal level. I'm talking about, you know, in terms of your position. Like, okay, girl, how can you be for this but not for that, or blah. Like how I've always done, you know, with the whole Caitlyn thing and then the Rachel Dolezal thing, which, you know, the girls are still torn like Latoya Luckett when it comes to that conversation. I'm not torn. Because I feel like what I said was fair, and I believe what I said made logical sense, even though the girls like to pick and choose when things make sense. In this grand carnival we call life, you know, the girls like to pick and choose when things are accurate or when they make sense, but I digress. The point is, her name is Debbie. She's on YouTube. If you type in Same Progressive, she will give you the tea. Now, she's not no high-end production, whatever the case may be, but she is giving you the material that the legacy news media is not going to serve you. Mainstream news media is not going to serve you. It's so funny because I was watching something on... I was in the bathroom, cleaning up my bathroom and just really trying to get my house in order. And make a long story short, for whatever reason, that TV in my creative room, the room just behind the wall that you're looking at, which is why I shoot all my videos for the main channel, The View was on. I haven't consciously watched The View. The last time I can recall trying to watch The View is when we had that service that we were doing for the month that I was doing it, where I was doing those live shows, and in the morning we'd watch Wendy Williams, The Real, The View, whatever. But The View was corny to me, and I can't, you know, as an adult where I have a brain, it's hard for me to watch a panel of people all have the same opinion. And every so often they'll throw in like a monkey wrench so that you think that they don't all agree, but... And maybe there is a person on there, I think that one girl, Jedediah, be disagreeing, but... You know, I was reading something. Here's another segue. Because it's like, as I'm talking, my ADHD is like, ooh, there's another topic. There's another topic. Here's one thing. So the other day I was reading something. And I just wanted to know if I had any, like, magical powers, right? I don't know that I think I have any, like, literal magical powers. You never know. But I don't know that I have that. But I did Google it. I was like, how do you know if you have any magical powers? So I Googled it and I was reading a list of things that they've outlined that are indicators of magical prowess. And so they had a lot of things on the list. I think maybe one thing I didn't qualify for. But everything else, I'm like, girl, this is me in my real everyday life. Then I start thinking, Girl, all this shit is so common that anybody would be on this list. But then the thing that they kept saying was, as you're reading this, you're going to think exactly what I just said. But I don't know if that's them just trying to like play a game to where it's like, okay, even when you start thinking, bitch, this is so general, then they'll be like, okay, girl, you would think that because, bitch, it comes natural to you. Which makes logical sense. I mean, you have to think of it like this. It's not, to a bitch that sings like a songbird, who sounds beautiful, she may know that she has a talent, but she is not going to look at herself as a fairy or as a sorcerer or anything like that. Because the talent, what she has, is something that a lot of people can sing. It's not like that's uncommon. But at the same time, who's to say that having magical ability is uncommon? See, that's where we get hung up too. I think we get hung up in thinking it's going to be like X-Men, where it's going to be like only a select few girls have the ability. I think what it may be is that a lot of girls have the ability, but because of our mass indoctrination into this thing we call life, we have forfeited our right to our own claim. You know what I mean? Like, before you even had a chance, it's almost like you have agreed to these terms that you actually didn't agree to. Like, why can't I have an open mind to what could potentially be out there? Why? Because I was raised in Christianity, something that was not really a choice of mine. Why? Because I was raised in Islam. Why? Because I was raised in Judaism, or whatever the religion may be. I'm not saying that they're right or that they're wrong. I'm simply stating that maybe a lot of people have these abilities, but we never work to cultivate them because we're told since we're kids that magic does not exist. Even though I maintain, and I've said this before, there's magic all around us, which is why it's odd that we are so closed off to the idea that magic could exist. I really have a hard time understanding why that's so unbelievable when, here it is, I'm talking to you here in Georgia, when some of you are coming from Europe, the West Coast. I mean, that's normal for us because we don't see it as magic because we were raised under that. Like, that was something that we never had to necessarily get used to. It just was. I remember, that's something that I started talking about on the live show, and I said I would piggyback. And so we're going to just be pulling things, and as the conversation is unfolding, girl, we're just going to see where she goes. I remember when I was younger, this was around the time, maybe a little bit before I got with the first label that I was dealing with early on prior to my YouTube career. There were these things, I don't know if they still have them, but there were these Yahoo groups that you could create. And it's been so long, I don't remember the exact way about how you did it, but make a long story short, I remember creating a group, and I don't even remember what the group was. It might have been about music, it could have been about anything. Minus sex. I wouldn't create a group about sex, but the point is, not that there's anything wrong with that, but I just am not pressed on being in a group just talking about dick and ass and vaginas. Like, that's not really my cup of morning joe. But I'm not knocking the girls that do that. But the point is, I created a group. And I remember thinking, oh my God, if we could only get like 5 girls in this group, bitch, it would be legendary. It would be our own little small group, and it would be cute. And at that time, I remember thinking that 10 people in a group, like showing up on Yahoo and saying that there are 10 girls that fuck with me and agree with what I'm saying, and that my opinion really isn't that strange. Like, I remember it was just little things where I would be like, wait a minute, someone else actually sees it how I see it. I remember the initial feeling of how awkward, not even awkward, but how strange it was to know that, wait, there's a whole world out there of people who see things the way you see them. But see, what it is we're so small-minded, even myself at that time, to think if I could only get 10 people. Here we are now. My videos have seen millions of views. Something that if you had told me when I was doing that Yahoo group, it would have seemed impossible. I don't know if I'm making sense. I'm just kind of like, my spirit is going in certain directions, and I'm just allowing her to go where she wants to go. Because I always feel like anytime I'm being drawn to a topic, that means somebody in the audience needs to hear it, right? Or maybe even I need to hear it. No shade. But the point is, I try to go where my heart is telling me to go. So that's number one. So anyway, moving on back down to what I was saying about magic, I just feel like people, maybe you do have a real ability. So for instance, I've been saying all my life, this is something that they had as one of the things to know, like an indication that you may be magical. Now, I don't know how true it is. I'm not saying that it is true. I'm just saying, I'm just repeating what I heard and what I read, and I'm just telling you what's going on. So, here's the deal. Since I can't even tell you how young. Number one, I've been told all my life, oh, you're an old soul. Oh my God. I don't feel, when I was a kid, people be saying, I don't feel like I'm talking to a kid right now. Like, it's really weird. Ever since I was little, I always noticed things that nobody else noticed. So in other words, I could be in a space with 30 other people and see something that the 29 other people did not see. For me, when I'm looking at something, I'm not just looking at the object or the person. There are, and this is the thing that I think people get hung up on, a lot of times they just go off of the surface. But see, the surface is like a door, a bedroom door. You don't really know what's behind it until you actually go in. You could come into my house and my house can be clean, everything can be in order. But so long as there's a closed door, it could always be a deception. Maybe I just clean the areas that you will see. Maybe I only clean the areas that everybody will go in. But then maybe my actual space is a hot mess. So you really don't know what's behind the door until you actually delve deeper and actually open the door up to see what the person is really about. And that's what I've been doing my entire life. That is just an analogy that I created to make that make sense. But in my entire life, I can walk into a room and see someone who maybe they didn't say anything shady per se, and maybe they were saying nice things. But if it's not genuine, I'll know right away. Like, I'll know. Like, I'll be sitting there and everybody will be like, girl, what's wrong with you? You think everybody is something? No, I don't. No, I don't. That's not what I'm serving you. What I'm telling you is there's something about this bitch that is off. Now, you can take that or you don't have to take it. But as long as I make my feeling on the circumstance known, I don't really care what you do with it. I'm just and then it always pans out that I was right. Girl, you said this and the fourth, girl, and it turns out. I've gotten so used to hearing it turns out. Had I known, if I had it to do again, like, I can't tell you how many times people have come to me to tell me that. How did you know? What made you say that, though? And what's so crazy is, when I'm proven right, they come back to me to ask me the question, how did I know? When it's just like what happened with my friend with the Gaga conversation. You know, how did you know? What made you? So, for instance, with that girl, the black one with the mini afro that I was talking about. For me, she was being shady. Like, it's like it wasn't things that she was saying, but it was so much more than that. Like, in a split second, I can dissect the whole thing. And here's what's so interesting about the way my body or my mind works. I can dissect a bitch and know her entire aura, but it's so hard for me to describe it, though. When it's like, even when it's good, it's hard for me to describe it. I don't know how to put it into words. Like, so in other words, I'll give you a prime example. Suppose we go into a room. And then, so when we get into the room, we're there, and I see someone, I'm introduced to someone who right away, bad energy. They didn't say anything wrong. They didn't necessarily do anything wrong. It's just something in their spirit I can, from a mile away, I just know. It's like, ooh, okay. Alright. And then, in my mind, I have a whole case file. But the part that is crazy about that is when I try to, like, tell people, like, what I have discovered about this person, like, people who need to know, not just random people throughout the event, but, like, maybe the people I came with. I'd be like, girl, I don't know how I feel about this bitch. I'm not really pressed on being around her. Well, what's wrong? Why? Even though I have this whole thing about all what you've been doing since you've been in my presence, it's not, the information what I have is something that a bitch that is like me would only understand, because it's almost like it's encrypted. So even if I were to, you ever feel like you click on something on your computer to, like, work an issue out, but when you click on it, it's like HTMLs and, like, all these numbers and shit that only people who do that understand? It's not that it doesn't make sense, and it's not that because, like, if you were to take out, like, 3 zeros and a 1 and a 5, I don't fucking know, I'm not a computer person, but the point is, let's just say you did that. Just you taking out those numbers could totally shut down your computer. But you wouldn't know that because you never tried, because you don't understand what you're looking at. Only a bitch that gets that would even open that up to even tinker with it. So what I'm saying is, when I get the file, it's all encrypted. I know what I'm looking at, and I know what it's making me feel, but it's hard for me to describe it because it's something that only a bitch that is like me would understand. So let's just say we go to the event, and here it is. The bitch is in my space, and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about it. Right away, it's just off kilter. And then the people I'm with will be like, well, but what did she do? Because she came over here and she said hey, and she was friendly and all this other stuff. And then anything I will say, see, and also I've learned just to kind of pay it, like I'll know it in my head and then I just leave it alone. So most of the time I don't even say anything, because in the past when I have, people were like, well, what did she do? It's only later on after I have, because first I will attempt to tell you, and I'll break it down. I'll say, you know what? It's because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, but did she say something strange to you? No, she didn't. But it was just, I can tell that she wants to be friends with you so she can be friends with him. Like, I'll break it all down. She wants to be friends with you so she can be friends with him. And ultimately, she mentioned my work a few times. The way she mentioned it, I can tell she wants to be friends with him so she can be friends with me. And then, it was like, I'll be saying things like that nobody else saw. And they'll be like, well, how do you know what? Like, and then, so it's almost like they don't even take it seriously, because it's like, girl, okay. But then later on, it'll be like, girl, bitch, let me tell you, we're going to give her a League of Legends name. Let's call her Cassiopeia. Bitch, I can't believe that it turned out what you said was true. Like, Cassiopeia is a dirt queen in kabuki makeup, bitch. She thinks she's all that in a bag of chips. And really, her whole agenda was to social climb right from the beginning, just like you said. I can't tell you. I wish I could go down the list of how many times I was right about things like that. Or someone is trying to do business with someone and they run it past me. I'll be like, there's something wrong about that. I just be knowing, girl. Now, I don't know if that's a power or if it's just intuition. But what if intuition is a power? Right? Because just think about it. Let's just pretend we lived in a world where magic was real. Intuition would be no different from telepathy. Telepathy would be no different from flying. Like, in other words, these would just be abilities that we would admire. Like, let's just say I could run super fast, but I could not fly. In a world where magic was accepted, although I don't have the ability to fly, like, on my own without the help of a vehicle, an aircraft, I wouldn't think it was strange that you could. I would just look and admire your ability. Like the Olympics. Those motherfuckers are doing shit that most of us either can't do, or if we tried, we would be very poor at it. You know what I mean? But when you see them doing those activities, you don't think, that's not real. Who could do that? Who would be able to do that? You don't think that because you've seen enough of it and you've been exposed to enough of it to where it's almost normalized, to where it's like when you see a bitch do a backflip 3 times and then spin around in a circle and do a split, it's like, oh wow, good. Wow, I'm so impressed with her. But what if these are different abilities? I feel like all of this shit, all of it can be considered magic under the right context, but you would really have to open your mind and understand. So for instance, people in the medical field, that could be an ability. If you play League of Legends, there are support. There's a role for everything. You know what I mean? And then when you look at League of Legends, that's a good example actually. When you look at League of Legends, you have some girls that are the muscle. And really, it's not even so much that they have, I guess some of them, all of them on some level have a magical ability. But my point is, some of them come across as more magical than others, right? So for instance, Garen to me would just be like a super strong person with a hint of magic. So some people may be more potent than other people. Whereas, let's just say, a Karma is straight up and down magic. Who else can I think on the spot? Blitzcrank is not really magical to me. There are some things that he does that may have a pinch of magic, but he's more like muscle. He's more strength than he is magic. But then if you flip it around to, suppose, let's just say an Echo, now we talking pure magic. You know what I'm saying? At least he looks like a magical person to me. Yorick is about 50-50. I would say he probably is more magical than not. Um, in terms of like his kit requires, it's like more magic than it is just strength. So his ult is not even really him fighting you. It's more like his demons and all those other things that he is like summoning. So again, a magical type of thing. You know what I'm saying? But I guess my point is, what if we are surrounded to get to the point, and then moved on to my real point why I'm even wanting to do this table read. I guess what I'm saying is, what if we already live in a world full of magic, but it's like, it's one of those things where it's like that movie where everything was gray, and in order for you to see the magic you're surrounded by, a shift in perspective for you to really see the color, for you to really see the image in its true light, for you to really see, for you to really get into it. Like, I feel like we live in a world where right from the beginning we're taught that it doesn't exist, it's not real. And which is so interesting to me, because I was thinking this the other day when I was watching this, whatever movie I was watching, but I was watching something on TV, and what was the transition she made? They were having a conversation, in some kind of way she had said something like, okay, you know what, honestly I don't remember how it was worded, I'm just going to make it up, but I'm going to get to the point of what she was saying. It was almost like, okay, so why are you mad at someone trying to convince their kids that Santa is real when, why are you mad at that when you're okay with Jesus and Muhammad and all these other girls that could be fake too? Moses. Historically speaking, there really is no actual proof, at least none that I have seen, that would indicate that Muhammad, in the way that we know him in Islam, the prophet, the last prophet, what is the real evidence that he ever really actually existed, really? Like, do we have documents that he signed? Like, how do we actually know that he really existed, right? So what I'm saying is, all of it is faith. And to me, even though I know people are going to think I'm being facetious when I say this, I'm really not. Like, Santa can be just as real as any other person or thing we believe in that we've never seen. But maybe the way we have talked about Santa Claus is the part that is not true. So maybe it's like, bitch, maybe Santa is sitting somewhere like, girl, I never said that I delivered presents to kids all around the world, girl. I only, and then I never said that I deliver presents, bitch. That's some shit that you threw into the mix. I never said that. What it is bitch, I'm a person that, maybe I was an orphan and I was gifted these powers, and every night, or not every night, but every Christmas, I'm free to go around and work miracles in people's lives. So maybe on Christmas, it's not presents that you're getting from a fat white person in a red suit. Maybe he was from Spain, and maybe he was kind of overweight, and maybe he was just a generous person that the universe thought had such a pure soul that he could be entrusted with such an enormous task, with so much power. And every year, he plans with his minions, okay, here's where we need to target and help people. So it's not everyone, and it's not all over the world. It's just certain areas of the world where people need miracles the most. People who are being hunted down and killed, they need like little things. Like, okay, if I right now, this family of 5 is being hunted by people who wish to do them harm. Maybe the real Santa is not delivering presents to people where it's irrelevant to have presents, because who really needs you're not going to die if you don't get that present. But this family in the middle of the Congo, or this family in the middle of the fucking Amazon, okay, maybe Santa, the real Santa, is like, okay, so right now they need a miracle. So under any normal circumstance, you would be dead. Your whole family would just be killed right here. But on this day, I hear your cry for help, and I feel like there's so many moving parts to this thing, but just bear with me. I hear your call, and on that day, they get shielded. Like maybe the family slips down a hill, and then they realize when they get to the bottom of it, oh, here's the cave. So then they start pulling branches, and then they cover the entrance of the cave, and then the people who are trying to kill them walk right past them. Now, in the eyes of the family probably, or maybe then again, maybe they will be like it was a miracle. But I think in the eyes of everybody else, it's going to be like, no, it wasn't a miracle. You were just very smart. See how we explain everything away? You know, what it was is you were very smart, and that's what made you survive, is because you were being smart. And I don't blame people for thinking that, because it makes sense that who would want to believe, or who would think Santa Claus saved them? But see, even that makes it silly, because even the name sounds silly. Maybe we just need to give him another name and really like investigate if it's true. But see, I think in that documentary, what we were watching was, when people talk about miracles, like you watch these movies where the priest will go and try to debunk or prove that someone who has been possessed with the demon is either real or fake. Now, when you're watching these movies, in the movie we know whether or not the person is real or fake. And we sit there and we're like, oh my God, what do you need to believe this bitch is telling the truth? And yet in real life, if you get that same information, you do exactly what you get mad at the people in the movie for doing. Like, when you hear that shit in the news or whatever, like, oh, this person murdered her kid because he was the spawn of the devil, you think, oh, what a horrible mom, right? Like, bitch, you're crazy. But then what if she had to sacrifice her whole life because now she's in prison, but what she was saying was actually accurate? What if? Like, I'm not saying it is true, but I'm just saying, I'm just being that bitch to, like, question, like, what if it is true? Because we always say we want magic and we want Jesus and all these things, but then when things will occur, we always have an explanation. Oh, well, it's because of this, it's because of that. And I always used to say, and I still say, bitch, just because you can prove through science how something happened does not mean that it happened just by mistake. Through science, we can prove how my car got from point A to point B. Bitch, I put the key in the ignition. I started my car. I put my foot on the gas. Put my foot on the brake. Released the brake into the gas gear or into the drive gear. And then I started driving. That's how we got there. And then we can prove through science mechanically what the car was doing. Just because you can prove something through science does not mean that it occurred by itself. That's all I'm saying. So what I'm saying is, 300 years ago, the life we live today will be considered a fairy tale land. It will be just like watching Avatar and thinking that that could be real. 300 years ago, it would be the same equivalent. Like, bitch, what? Wait a minute. People are gonna get around in vehicles that have cushioned seats and what do you call it? A steering wheel? Like, it will be so foreign to them. And something that we know to be true because we're living in this time, trying to explain that to a bitch back then, you would be locked up. Maybe even killed. Because now you're a witch all of a sudden. And maybe you actually are a witch. You see what I'm saying? Maybe it's not an all of a sudden thing. Maybe you actually are a witch, but you just don't know because you live in a world where it's been so normalized. And not only just normalized, but where the magic has been suppressed. But see, here's the thing about it though. Let's just say out of 100%, you only possess 2% of your magical ability. Because that's all that was able to survive after the mass indoctrination. Suppose you got into a time machine. Like, hypothetically speaking, there's a time machine. Suppose you got into that time machine, and when you got back to where you were going, even with just 2% magical influence, like if you came and people started thinking that you had magic, even just 2%, you will be killed for that. Because 2% in a place where the magic has, or if you come from this time, back in that time, 2% would be a lot. Because if you go back in time and say, bitch, I have the cure for this disease, all the diseases that no one knew about, or that nobody had the cure for, and then all of a sudden here you come, they're going to think you're a medicine doctor, you're this, you're that. And maybe you would be. That's the point I'm making. You wouldn't see it that way because then you'd be saying, well, it's because I went back in time. It's not that I have magic. It's because I went back in time, so it's going to seem that way to you. It's not about what it seems like, girl. It's what it is. Humans are not supposed to fly across the sky, girl. That's something that we have made for ourselves. And is it not majestic and magical just because we invented it? Because then who's to say that it wasn't a touch of clairvoyance that the people who were inspired to even make airplanes weren't touched by that, weren't touched? I mean, am I making sense here? Like, I feel like we're delving in deeper, but I know that y'all feel me and y'all fuck with me, so y'all understand where I'm going with this. But I just feel like, who knows what the real truth is? Like, I feel like we can't even get to the bottom of it because Every time there's some truth, it's just like the film showed us. They will mix a bunch of bullshit in with the truth, so that by the time you really do come across a real possession where it's a real demon involved, you're going to be thinking, girl, you're just going to say the person is crazy. By the time you come across a real bitch that is magical, you're going to think, girl, she crazy. That's the reason why when it comes to schizophrenics, I'm very open-minded to, I don't think that it's just right away they're crazy, personally. I don't think that. I think what it is, unfortunately, these are people that, whether it was their will or against their will, tapped into some shit that they don't know how to tap out of, and now they are stuck between realms. I'm not saying this is what it is, but I feel like that's a logical explanation. To me, it doesn't seem that far-fetched to me, because in my mind, I'm thinking, why do you think just because you can't see something, it's not there? When we were younger, we couldn't see air, we couldn't see oxygen, and yet we grew into the understanding that although you can't see oxygen, it's always around you, in you, through your blood cells. Like, so how can something we can't see be so important to our life and staying alive, and yet we believe that, but we can't believe that this bitch tapped into another realm? I don't get that. Honestly, I don't, because to me, how can I tell you, let's just say I was talking to a schizophrenic right now, she was in my home, and she's telling me, so right now there's a woman behind you, she's explaining to me what this bitch looked like. How can I say what you're saying is not really there? Because by that logic, what if somebody came into my house and told me that the schizophrenic person I was talking to was not really there? Would I believe that person, or would I believe what I see? And so it's almost like I wouldn't want a bitch telling me what the shit I'm seeing is not really there. Like, but at the same time, we have to, I think we would have more answers if we would first stop calling them crazy. And then if we would second, really investigate what is really happening when you're hearing voices. What are the brain waves? Like, let's get a bitch in here that is not schizophrenic. Let's plug her up into the machine. And then let's talk to her and monitor her brain with what they quote unquote real person. This video has nothing to do, but you know what? I'm inspired and we're having a conversation, and I feel like if we had a blunt girl, this conversation would really be lit the fuck up, no shade. But I mean, isn't this interesting? My partner does not like these type of conversations, but I love talking about this shit because to me, why not? But anyway, so let's pretend we have a bitch in here. Did I unplug anything? Okay, no, I didn't. Let's pretend we have a bitch in here who is not schizophrenic. And let's pretend I'm the doctor. So now, the person who's on the other side is the patient, we're doing a trial. She's the patient, but she's not schizophrenic. So I'm talking to her. We have her all plugged in with all those little things they stick onto your head. We have her all plugged in. Now, as I'm talking to her, we're monitoring her brain. How does her brain respond when someone speaks to her? How does her brain respond when somebody walks into a room and she realizes they're there? She looks me in my eyes. Is there anything chemically occurring in her brain when she speaks to me? Okay, so let's take all her information. Now let's have a bitch who is schizophrenic come into the space. Let's first have her in there for about an hour with nobody coming in. And I want her plugged in. Now, the reason I want her plugged in is so that we can see if she's having the exact same response that this other bitch had. Now, if she's having a physical reaction to a bitch that she claims just entered the room, and she's not lying, we're seeing on the machines that, okay, so now we see that she's having that thing occur when you recognize a person or when you see a person. So there is a person in the room. We just can't see that person. Okay? Now, maybe an hour after we get all her information from how she reacts when nobody but her mind is in the room and whatever else is occurring that we are not privy to. Okay. Now, let's bring the doctor back in. Or let me come back in, because I'm the doctor in this scenario. Let me come back in, and now let me talk to her. Now, what I'm looking to see is if, number one, the pattern with the first person who was not schizophrenic matches up with how she was when she was by herself. Okay, let me start over. What I'm looking for, because it's a lot of moving parts. This is what I mean when I say it's hard for me to describe it, but in my mind I be knowing what I'm saying. But let's just say, okay, we get the information from the first person who was not schizophrenic. What I'm looking to see is if we can match up your brain communications with the schizophrenic when she was by herself. See if there's any similarities. So that tells me that she's responding like a healthy person would respond to seeing someone. So really, it's not that different. What I now want to compare, so we have the one file on top of the second file to see where they match, right? Just to see where they match, if they mirror each other in any way, shape, or form. Now what I want to do is take her file from when I came back into the room with the schizophrenic, and I want to see how her brain rectifies. Okay, a new person is in here, so now there's 3 people. There's me, let's say I'm the schizophrenic patient. There's me, this person, and now the doctor. Okay. Now let's just say I'm the doctor and I say right out the gate how it's nice to meet you, so forth and so on. I understand that you are a schizophrenic. Can you tell me what you're experiencing right now? Now suppose she says, well, right now, before you came in, there was a young lady here speaking with me, whatever the case may be. Now, when she says that to me, if I turn around and say, well, such and such, there is nobody else in this room but us. Now we begin to see the part that drives her crazy through her brain waves, because it was all normal up until we started saying that what you see is not really there. So now it's the adrenaline we're seeing chemical release, like it's all this shit is firing off, and this is the reason why these girls short circuit, because instead of us trying to cultivate maybe their potential gifts, now it's like, I hate to say this, girl, but you're schizophrenic, you're crazy. They're not going to say it like that, but a person who is schizophrenic hearing that is probably thinking that. So you may not, as a doctor, you didn't say, girl, you're crazy, but to a person who's being told they're schizophrenic, they're probably thinking, oh my God, I can't be schizophrenic. Like, so it's scary. Who would want to be that? Like, all the stigma and everything like that. So what I'm saying is, that is what drives these girls crazy. And while you up here talking about Tyler the medium, that is a fake. That is not a real girl. I feel like the real clairvoyants and the real mind readers and all that shit, where it's like they can talk to dead people and talk to people who are not in the room. I don't see why people think that's normal, but then when it comes to a schizophrenic, they're so afraid. I genuinely don't understand. Because what it is, you would know, I'm going to tell you, no, I lied. I know what it is. It's exactly what I said so many years ago about Lady Gaga. I said, you know, people act like they want a real artist. They act like they want someone who is like a weirdo, like kind of like eccentric. You know what I mean? Like, they act like they want that. But they don't really want that. They want a commercial version of that. They don't want the real, like, Bjork type of artist, where it's like, literally, I don't give a fuck about all the paparazzi, the publicity. I'm an artist first. And this is my music. This is what I'm doing. People get turned off by that type of genius or that type of eccentric being. They want eccentric, but they want it to be commercial. They want artistic as long as it is commercial. So what am I saying? They want fake Miss Cleo type of fortune tellers and all that shit. They want Tyler the celebrity medium type of people. But they want the commercial, wrapped in a pretty box, like, yeah, I talk to dead people, like that's not strange or unusual, or better still, that it's normal. And yet when you get a real bitch who is really touched, and because nobody wants to work with her, now she is walking around talking, looking crazy because nobody wants to cultivate her real gift. But this is probably the bitch that could probably communicate with someone for you. That's the part that be blowing me. Like, a schizophrenic is probably the... Here's the thing. The people... Okay. So, for the real clairvoyants and the real fortune tellers in the world, they probably don't call themselves schizophrenics. But if they went to a doctor and were like... and started talking that shit, they would be labeled as schizophrenic. Even if they are legit fortune tellers or whatever the case may be. Real fortune tellers are probably tortured because they know the weight and the severity of their gift. They know that if they come out and try to help people, maybe they'll be labeled crazy and potentially locked up just for having a gift. And when I say locked up, I'm talking about like in a insane asylum, depending. But then at the same time, we as a society, we believe in like fortune tellers, but only if they're like Whoopi Goldberg. I mean, that's a prime example too. Ghost. It's like when she was a fake fortune teller, she had all these people, but then when she started really seeing things, look at how she responded. Look at how she responded. That's actually literally the perfect example. Look how she was when she was faking, when she was all that pretending, and then once when Patrick Swayze was like, "Girl, hello," or maybe he said something under his breath, where she was like, "Wait, the fuck was that?" And maybe had somebody else, like maybe had somebody in the room said, "Oh, I'm sorry that I shouldn't have said that," she would have went back to normal. But what it was is when everybody was looking at her like, "Girl, what's wrong?" She was like, "Wait, nobody heard that?" That's what I'm saying now. So what I'm saying is the part that drives them crazy is the part where it's like, wait, am I the only one? Nobody else heard that? I'm literally sitting here talking to someone. Y'all don't see this much? That will drive anybody crazy, or most people crazy. The people who have successfully been able to deal with that and not go crazy are not people who are on TV. Those are fakes. I don't care what no one says. Tyler, the medium, remember how I told you before when I said I just be knowing? Okay, well, there you go. That's an example. And I don't see, that's not even hard to know that he's lying, because he's so obviously lying. See, that's what I'm telling you. It's the whole thing. Even though he's smiling and he's coming across friendly, it's going to make me look like I'm a hater. I'm not a hater, bitch. I just can see beyond that. I don't care you smiling and all that shit what you doing, bitch, because I know girls like you. I just be knowing. Maybe that's my power, because I do now. It's just something that I've always been able to do. I don't care. You could come to me smiling and all that. Right away, I be knowing, like, girl, this bitch. I'm sure there was a time where maybe I did get got by a bitch that was plotting. But I be knowing. For instance, even here on this platform, I be knowing. And what it is in my heart, I'm like, I don't want to set off the war bells, but at the same time, you're trying it. Even if you are a patron. Like Miss Thing. You know what I'm saying? And it was one of those things where how I knew she was trying it was just based off of her. Even though in her response, in the stuff that she was saying, it wasn't really shady. I knew that she was shady. Like, I knew. It was the way she was coming at it. It was the times that she was coming at it. It was just the whole thing. I just knew. Because before it even blew up, I was talking with my partner like, girl, I hate it, because why he would be plotting against me and trying to, like, all this stuff that I later found out. Because you have to remember, when I got that email from that individual who will remain anonymous, when I got that email of him saying that that individual was plotting against me and was having secret meetings behind my back, trying to rally people against me, even though I didn't have confirmation before, I already knew he was doing that. I just did. Like, I just knew. In my heart, I knew he's plotting against me. It's just the way I've always had that gift to just be able to know. Regardless, having the evidence just means I'm definitely on point. But even without the evidence, I'm like, girl, this motherfucker is lying. Lying. Which is why a lot of times when I'm watching these reality shows and I'm the unpopular opinion, that's the reason why. Because most of the time, girls don't see the things that I see. But I think what happens is, as I'm articulating it, maybe they're like, ooh, damn, that is kind of true. I didn't see it that way at first. But my point is, the reason why my opinion is typically the unpopular one is because I pick up on the nuances. I pick up on the shit that maybe you weren't supposed to pick up on. From the shadiness of the editors and producers. It's just like, I be knowing. I know. And so, I just think that maybe we do live in a world full of magic. But let me actually digress from that a little bit and move on down to this documentary, because we spent almost an hour talking about this. And I want to actually go into what I actually came here to talk about with regards to this film that we did for movie night. For movie night, we did Unacknowledged. And let me just give you the premise of the film, and then I'll break it down, and then I'll tell you my theory that I did not finish talking about during movie night. So here's what the premise is, then I'll go into my theory. The film is seeking to outline and display how our government lies and actively shields the truth from its constituents. They go into how aliens are here. And it's so funny because when I first found the film, I thought I had rolled me a blunt and I was ready to smoke and laugh. Because I like watching space shows and shit like that, because a lot of time there probably is some truth in what they're saying, but a lot of times they mix in bullshit in order to make you feel small, like you don't have a purpose. So on shit that they really have no way of knowing if it's even true. You see what I'm saying? So I thought I was gonna laugh, and then what it was is I had started hitting my blunt, and as I'm smoking, it starts to slowly dawn on me that, wait a minute, they're speaking some real true tea in this documentary. And I started thinking to myself, because what they were trying to do is wake people up. And what I liked is they didn't have a bunch of kooky people up in there. Like, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that if you're kooky, you can't be telling the truth. Because you could be kooky and you could be real. But right now, we need real and not kooky. I'm not saying that you being kooky means you can't be real. But unfortunately, we're at a point where we only need girls that are straight-laced, who can just give the facts of the case. Because if you come up on here, even if you're telling the truth and you're kooky, then people are going to be like, girl, she crazy. And Dave Chappelle already told you that's the worst thing you could say to someone, because nobody listens to crazy people. So right away, it's a moot point. Because if you have this crazy bitch coming out like, oh girl, yeah, aliens are real, ain't nobody, you may as well don't even you're wasting your time. Because no one's going to take it seriously if this is the type of person you have trying to prove that aliens exist. So I like that they had real people up in there who've worked for the government, who've worked with presidents, quoting different presidents. Like, they were just going to so much tea. It was like gagging me left and right, left and right, left and right. And so, well, anyway, something that I thought when I watched it alone, and a question that came up while I was watching it with the mothers and fathers here on Patreon is this. And I'm going to tell you my theory. Somebody said, and I even thought to myself, I said, how is this even out? Like, how are they able to release, how is the government allowing them to release all of this tea? Because granted, maybe some people will not believe this even after watching it, but I'm sure enough people will believe this that it could be a potential threat, because it was put together too well, and their arguments were outlined in such a way to where it's very hard to deny the information that you're getting. So I thought, how? The government is so powerful, how could they allow it to be released? And then it dawned on me, girl, this third eye, I'm telling y'all, I be knowing. Now, you're going to ask the question, how do I have proof of what I'm about to say? And I'm going to give you a straight answer. I don't. It's a theory right now. And I will admit that a theory is just a theory until proven fact. So I will grant you that. But in my heart, based off of my track record of knowing these things, which is the whole reason why I went into that whole speech early on, based on my track record and me being confident about my gift of just knowing things, just like shit that maybe I shouldn't know, but my spirit leads me like, okay, don't trust this bitch. She's dangerous. Be wary. Trifling, smiling in your face, all while I want to take your place, the backstabbers. Like, bitch, I trust myself enough to know that I'm not like, it's not that I trust myself enough to trust my judgment, and to know that it's not like, oh, I want to believe that these aliens are real, so that's why I'm believing it. I know myself well enough to know that if I believe something, it's because I've seen sufficient evidence to prove it to me. And that, or my own gut is telling me, back away from this, or investigate this. And so, here's my theory. Throughout the documentary, they were making it seem like these aliens have been here since God only knows how long. And they were explaining how they hide the truth from the public. Here's my theory. What if these alien beings are intellectually way beyond us? So their technology is way beyond ours. So remember that table read that I did when I was talking about those two people that came to my house? And then right away I felt like they weren't of this world, or maybe they weren't human or something like that, even though they looked like people. There's an example of what I'm saying. Like I said, during movie night, was it movie night? I feel like we've talked about this so many times. I'm not exactly sure when I said what I'm about to say, but I know it was either movie night or in Q when we went live. But although they looked like people, they had hands, eyes, hair, they spoke my native tongue, English. The way that they went about conducting that conversation did not feel human to me. There was a certain coldness to it, even though they were trying to come across as upbeat. Does that make sense? So in other words, they were trying to make me feel at ease. Hi, you know, all this. It was just, and then the way, but it was the way they were talking would lead you to believe that this is a person who is talking the way they think I would expect someone to talk. So it didn't come across like, okay, this is just her personality, this is just you talking. It came across like you're pretending to be a person. Maybe you sat there watching people on TV, watching reality shows in the news just to see the different types of people of Earth has to offer. And then you go out into the world, whether it's doing what they were doing, or maybe they just have, some of them have normal jobs, just to see, like, we need somebody working at Walmart, just so we can see, like, so that they can study us the same way we do other people. It's just, or other animals, rather. I mean, you think about it. You go to Africa to the safari, right? And there's a lot going on. And anytime we start talking about this shit, girl, I gotta be wary. Okay. So, maybe I didn't hear that, but there was some shit going on in the background. And even now, I don't know exactly what the fuck that was, because it was a squeaky noise, but I heard her bell, but I'm like, what's squeaking now? It actually sounded like somebody was above me. I'm guessing somebody has moved back into these apartments. I was really enjoying not having any neighbors above me, but all good things come to an end, apparently. Or so we've been told, but I digress. The point is, they were sounding like they were trying to sound the way they think people talk. I don't know how else better to describe that. It felt like they were trying to take inventory of my house, but they were doing it under the guise of this vote. Oh, are you going out to vote? And then it was just, I can't, at this point it's been some time, I can't remember all the specifics, but they were asking me things that didn't make sense to me, or maybe it was the way they were asking it. Maybe they had said my name. How did that happen? I don't even remember how it occurred. I'm glad that I have it on record while it was fresh in my mind, but whatever it wasn't natural. There was something about it that was off. But see, we live in a world where we are trained to just be like, oh, that person is weird. And then you move on with your life. But what if, getting back into my theory, I feel like aliens, they want to see how smart we really are. Because what if all the movies that we watch, you know how they say, okay, I'm gonna give you an example, because what I'm trying to say is the magnitude of it is so big. I'm really trying to whittle it down into like something that makes sense coming out of my head. In my head, I see the whole picture. But again, I'm trying to explain it. It's like I'm trying to show you the files and all the information in my head, but it's like it's encrypted to where it's almost like I have to break it down so that it makes sense to the average person. Not because you're slow or anything crazy like that, but because I know that even though this comes natural to me, I think the general population doesn't see things the way that I see things. But in any case, my suspicion is that if these aliens are real and they've always been here, what they're doing is they're observing us, taking notes, just the way we would. You go to Animal Planet, National Geographic, what are we doing? Oh, so the this, that, and the fourth bird, they have this one bird where it's so gross. It squirts out, as a defense mechanism, it squirts out blood from its eye some kind of way. And they show it, like all this blood just squirting out at whatever it's afraid of. But my point is, the same way how that bird is just living its life, and then here you have this bitch in a bush just writing notes, that's what they're doing. Because that bitch probably wanted to see, I don't know what they were trying to see about how I would respond, or humans, if we come to his house, would he do what we say if he sees us in person? What is the best way to influence this person? Does he respond better to face-to-face contact? Does he respond better to email? Does he respond better to the blogs? What is the best way to control people? But at the same time, I almost feel like they want us to break the chain. And they're wondering, how long is it going to take for them to break the chain? All of the answers are all there. So here's an example of what I'm thinking. All the movies, TV shows, cartoons, there's pieces to the puzzle. Between life, birth, and death, all of the most mythical things that we've been doing since existence, I feel like all the answers, all of these movies and shows are a little bit right. And collectively, they show the entire picture. You see what I'm saying? But there are pieces that are missing because we have to, it's almost like we have to work. The goal of humanity, the human race, even beyond me, beyond you and everybody else, is not even what we've been thinking. I think the main goal is to realize what's really going on. Like, the real goal is not reproduction. It's none of that. All the things that we have been raised to believe, because all we're doing is producing more sheep. All we're doing is producing more sheep. We're giving birth to these kids, and then we're doing the same thing that was done to us from an early age. No magic, no, it's all school and the Pledge of Allegiance, and it's like right from the beginning, you've agreed to something that you haven't actually agreed with from childhood. And it's no fault of the parents. I don't think the parents even understand how insidious all of this is. I don't think they understand. But with the aliens, I don't think that they are necessarily good or bad. I think that in terms of why the documentary got out, I think that they probably are in communication with the highest 1% of not just America, but of the world. I think all the world's governments that are important, and when I say important, what I mean is like the ones that have the weapons that can do shit, not the ones that are like third world, or maybe they're not third world, but they're not like Sweden. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking, no shade to Sweden, but I'm talking about like the Russia, China, America, and I guess Europe as a whole maybe. But it's only going to be like out of 7 billion people, maybe only 20 people know about what I'm talking about. That's how secretive this has to be. And so while people keep talking about the shadow state and all these other things, I feel like it's the aliens, the shadow organizations, and then the corrupt politicians. So the corrupt politicians take their directives from these people who work for the big pharma, oil, all these other different things, right? So those people own our government and every government. But the aliens own them. And somewhere in their negotiations thousands of years ago, because this ain't nothing new. It's new to us, it ain't new to them. Here's my theory. Maybe 15, 10, 20,000 years ago, however long ago it was, when these aliens maybe first came to the scene, or maybe when we first discovered that they were here, or maybe when they first discovered we were here. Whatever the way it happened, my feeling is there was some type of agreement that was made. So let's just say, for example, when in the Bible, when they're talking about Adam and Eve, maybe the real Adam and Eve are these aliens. And when I say are the aliens, maybe they are the ones that are setting, like, who are giving us the options. Like, okay, listen, you have to tell people the truth. You don't have, but here's the thing though. You don't have to. Your job is to be human. We're not going to tell you. The only thing we will tell you is that you have to tell the people the truth. We're not going to tell you how you have to tell them the truth. We're not even going to tell you necessarily when you have to tell them the truth. But every so often, you have to put the truth out there in plain sight to where everyone has access to it. So they have to release this information because that's the deal that they've made. What the aliens are trying to see is how long. Like, I think they're trying to even see if we're worth it. Like, I think there's so much going on. I'm trying to put this into words, but I don't know how to put it into words. It's like I see it in my head very colorfully, but I see as it's coming out of my mouth, it's like, girl, what are you really trying to say? What I'm trying to say is they want to see if humans are even worth. Just think, okay, with how we are today, what do you think we'd be like if we really were like X-Men? Suppose 50% of the population were mutants in that way. To where we could bend metal, control the weather, all that shit. Do you really think we're in a position to where we could handle that type of power? So maybe they're trying to see, it's like, okay, they could be doing so much more, but we're not even going to expose this until we see if they're even worth it. The way somebody saw if we were worth it. Maybe other aliens gave them the ability. Only after millions of years, and who knows how long it took for them to get to the point to where finally it's like, okay, we bestow upon you your full potential. Not just with the very limited, what you think you can do, but meaning you can be in one space and instead of you picking up your cell phone and calling someone, you could literally just dial them in your brain. To them, it's like, it's crazy that, just think how you think when you watch a movie of a bitch hopping into a horse and buggy. It's not so much that you're thinking, what a dumb bitch for getting in a horse and buggy. Rather, I can't believe this bitch had to hop in a horse and buggy and take 3 months just to go from New York to California. So it's not so much that you think that they're stupid. It's just like, I can't believe that you're doing it. So the aliens that are walking around masquerading as humans, they probably look at us like, y'all have to y'all cars don't drive themselves and people are still dying from disease. Like, what? The same way we would be, they think the way we currently think, but on a more extreme level. So for example, if somebody were to die from tetanus, you'd be thinking, huh? If somebody were to die from syphilis, polio, I'm trying to think of some other things that we have eradicated. Any type of disease that we found a cure for, you'd be thinking, how are people still dying from this? And those aliens be looking at us like, how are these motherfuckers still not getting it? Y'all, how are they still, even though, but they can't influence it though. They can't influence it. They can only take notes. They can only watch. And then if our government or someone doesn't uphold their part of the agreement, that is when we really will feel the wrath of Khan, where these aliens will come back through and make whatever the empire is fall. I think once they renege on their agreement to give us the information in plain sight, that's when we will fall. That's when we will fall. Because you have to give the information to the people in a lot. I think the aliens are probably okay with us being tricked. I think their main thing is, you gotta be smart. Be smart. Do something different. It's gonna keep happening. Do something different. And we can't help you. And that's the crazy part. We can't help you. When you see those little videos of the spaceships hovering around, some of those are fake, but some of those are probably real too. And when they're hovering around, they're probably like scanning the oceans. Okay, the pollution levels are here. Like when you see them in random places, they're probably scanning for toxicity. And I mean, I'm telling you, I know that it sounds crazy what I'm saying, and maybe it is crazy. I'll admit that. It could be totally crazy, and maybe I'm totally off base. I don't think that I am though. I think it probably sounds like it's crazy because it's so far out the box. Again, try explaining to somebody from 300 to 400 to 500 years ago. Try explaining to them television. Try explaining to them in the future. In the future, they're going to... Oh, this woman is going ham on this TV. I'm guessing he clearly beat her up because she got a black eye. But now that they done untied her, she's like, let me beat his ass. Even though he's already dead, she said, let me beat his ass. And I'm not even mad at her because I've been doing it. What is the name of this movie? Miami Vice. Oh, this ain't no shit I would ever want to watch. No shade. But that part looked interesting. But I digress. The point is, I feel like the reason that the documentary came out is because it had to come out. Our government is going to do everything they can to discredit it, but they can't not allow it to come out. The agreement is probably set up in such a way to where all you can do is try to shield it, but you cannot prevent it. So in other words, if you literally silence everyone who comes out with this information, your empire will fall. We'll pull the plug on this whole operation right now. This whole experiment will end. But if you release it and then you are able to trick the people into believing that it's a lie or that it's not real, then okay, then we just have to keep recycling. We have to just keep doing it. But the point is, I think what they're waiting for, because see, if we wanted to live in a world that was like Pandora from Avatar, we can't do it. We can't. What the fuck? Is someone blowing the fuck up? That looks so fake too. Or did it? Let me just look at it one more time. Because she just got blew the fuck up. What just happened? Why did the house just explode like this? Is Jamie dead? Did he get killed up in here? He looked like he got killed. Let's see. Girl, they tried with that scene. That look a whole turd, but I digress. So like I said, I know it's gonna sound crazy. I know it's not gonna. To some of you, I know it's gonna sound like it's crazy. And let me be clear. Even as I'm talking, I'm hearing myself talk, and I know out of 100%, I'm probably describing this with about 25% accuracy. Because in my head, I know what I'm saying, but out of my mouth, I'm doing the best that I can to word this, but I don't know how else to say it to where maybe I'll come back and I'll have a better way of wording it, but just know this. I don't believe that we are alone. I don't believe that what you see is all there is. I don't believe that. I believe that we live in a world where magic does exist. I think it's just like anything. I mean, if you look at Harry Potter, again, all these directors, for all I know, J.K. Rowling could be a motherfucking alien, bitch. No shade. Like, I feel like these movies that I be watching are like V for Vendetta, all of these things. The Golden Compass. Just watch The Golden Compass. And you'll kind of get an idea of what I mean. It's like this shit, all of these movies are little pieces of the truth. But see, the problem is we've been so conditioned to just view it as entertainment. Maybe it is entertaining, but they're also giving you the truth too, girl. But we're just so watered down, we don't even know it when we see it. It's like we don't know how to unlock it. And it may not even happen in our lifetime. It may be another 1 million years before we elevate into like a true utopia. And because I believe that there's more to this life than what we're currently living and experiencing, who's to say that we won't be enjoying it a million years from now as another person? I would hope that in another life, let's just say a million years from now, that I'm able to meet you all again. I would hope. But I'm telling y'all, let me tell y'all what happened in my house the other day. And you wanna know what? Is there a way for me to unplug this? There's no way for me to show y'all. So I moved my bookshelf over here, right? It used to be over here, but now it's over here. This isn't really making any sense to you because you really don't know how my apartment is set up, so I'm just pointing right now. But it used to be right here, but now it's right here. It looks for the feng shui of the room, it looks much better. Now we have, you see that lamp? We have the matching set, and those were not cheap. Those are we love these lamps, though. They were like $60 a piece. So nice, though. And they're nice and heavy and have a lot of weight to them. And they're so, in person, they're so pretty. They look so adult, which I love. But we have two. There's one here and there's one here. We moved the bookcase from there to there. The room works so much better. But I'm going to say this and I'm going to close out. I'm going to tell y'all the reason why I believe. Why I'm a true believer. And I know I may sound crazy. I'm okay with that. Because I've never been one to not speak my truth just because of how I may look. That's okay. But here's the thing. So, as God is my witness, my partner saw this too. Lately, I've been lighting candles, a lot of candles. Let me see, it's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's what I was going to say, 8. So I've been lighting 8 candles, little tea candles. Okay, I lit one for Tamaya's. You know what? How can I do this to where I can show y'all? I really just want to get up, but there's this big ass, and then my computer's only on 10%. Plus, I have an NQ uploading. Okay, it's too much going on, y'all. I'm going to show you guys the configuration, what I have. It just won't be this second. But I have the candle that I light for Tamaya's urn with her fortune cookies right next to her little paw print. And then I have some candles that I put on top of these blue things, which when I show you what it looks like, you'll see what I mean. Underneath that, we have 3 candles surrounding what I call her Shiva, one of the Buddhist goddesses. It's just her head, though. I put 3 candles, because 3 is my lucky number. I put 3 candles around her head, surrounding her. And then I have 2 candles on the bottom level in these things. I don't like that, kind of make the light look pretty. All of those tea candles went out. Now, mind you, we were smoking the blunt. I was playing League of Legends at the time, and he was bringing me, as I was playing, he was walking me over. But it's so funny sometimes when I'm playing League and he's passing me the blunt, because he'll just put it in my mouth as I'm playing, because he knows I'm too into the game. But when I turned around to get the blunt, because I had already died, so maybe it was, at this point it was later game, and maybe it was a 30-second wait, I had to wait. So he came, and when he came, he tapped me, I turned around, and I looked. And then he turned around and looked, and we both looked at each other, and right away we knew what we were thinking. Because it was you couldn't mistake what was being seen. He's starting to come around. I'm going to bring him around. Because too much should be happening for it to not be real. 8 candles. I start with the top, end with the bottom. So logically speaking, you would think that the top would burn quicker, or would burn out quicker, or not even so much quicker. And see, did I not speak him up? Y'all, see, this is what I mean when I say I have powers. But it's small things like that we just overlook. Oh, it's a coincidence I'm talking about him. There he is. He literally just texted me and said, hello. Okay, so let me tell you what happened. So we looked, and we had eye contact at the same time because we saw the same thing. I started with the top, ended with the bottom. And I hope by me sharing this, the universe doesn't feel like they can't trust me with the power. Because I'm only sharing this because I think it's important that people know that I don't think it shouldn't be a negative thing that I'm sharing this. Like, I feel like, to me, sometimes I be thinking, what if the Gooians, now I'm playing around, but just because we call them Gooians and Planet Goo, I'm just going to call them that for the sake of this conversation. But what if they're like, okay, we want to work with him, but every time we do something, he tells his team on Patreon, you can't tell them everything. But then at the same time, I'm like, but why should it hurt? I feel like I'm trying to say it in a positive way to where we realize that we're stronger than what we are. So you shouldn't stop giving me the secrets of the traveling pants just because I'm sharing it with my audience. I get paranoid about stuff like that sometimes. Like, what if I share it and then they don't come to me again? But, oh well, whatever. If you don't come to me again, at least I know that you exist. But let me get to the point. Oh my God, because I'm so ADD. So anyway, we look at each other. I started with the top. Why is he just going around murking everybody like this? Who is this? I really don't care. So we looked at each other, and let me tell you what happened. All the candles had gone out except the one that was directly in front of Tamaya. All of them. Not a single candle was lit except for the one that I put specifically for Tamaya. Now that may seem small maybe to some people, but out of 8 candles, if I started at the top, because I lined them all up, like I said, okay, I need 3 here, I need 3 here, I need 2 down here. And then I start from the top and work my way down. Why would the only candle that was lit, and no tea, I light hers first, out of respect for her. So it's like, okay, I do my thing, and I say I'm thinking about you, baby girl, light her candle, then I do the other 2, then I go down for Sheba, then I do the last 2 on the bottom row. So it's like, I lit your candle. That should have been the first candle to go out. It should have burned out the quickest. I keep saying quickest. That's the wrong word. Not the quickest, but it should have been the first one to go out. And yet, it was the longest one to burn. Now, some people may say, well, maybe you just got a candle that had, maybe the wick was longer. No, girl. That's what they want you to do. They want you to be like, every time you see something that is magical or something that's not normal or a glitch in the matrix or whatever it is, and you start questioning, then either you tell yourself, girl, I'm crazy, I'm seeing things, or hearing things, or that bitch is crazy. It's like we always have reasons. I'm done with that. When I see some shit that I know is not of this world, bitch, it's not of this world. That's just my opinion. Now, It is. That's just what it's gonna be. I mean, because he saw. You know what? Sometimes I wish we could have some of these things on camera. Theoretically, maybe we do, because I keep saying I think my neighbors have. Maybe I have some new neighbors. I have not seen them yet. So how do I know someone's living up in that apartment? What if that's the ghost? I don't fucking know. With that, because I can't prove it, I'm not gonna jump on that bandwagon. In my spirit, it's a 50-50. Only because I feel like I need, see, and I have to be sharp. I have to be aware of when it's a situation to where it's like, okay, am I trying to make it into a ghost, or is it a ghost? In this case, I'm going to put it into a, because I can't say definitively that it was a ghost, it wasn't a ghost. I'm just, even if it is a ghost, this will just have to be one that I'm going to let go. Because I can't really prove it, and because it didn't happen in the apartment to where I can say I saw it happen, or it was loud enough to where it would have had to have been something in here, then I really don't have enough proof. But like my glass exploding, the ice flying out of the cup, the way that it did, it's too many things. The people showing up to my house when I was in the forest, and I felt like I was surrounded by a situation, even though nothing was there. Although one time I went out there and there was a deer. And that may have actually been the same time. There have been deer out there a number of times, but girl, no tea. Let me give an example. Okay, so here's me. It was me and Felice that I took. So here's me, and pretend Felice is in front of me. But let's just say the deer was as far from me as that blue guitar is for me. That to me is too close. And really, it's closer than what it looks. For whatever reason on this camera, it looks a little bit further away. Oh my God. It was so scary. I'm like, and I told my partner, because he was walking Kappa. And I saw the deer. And when I say scary, it wasn't really scary. I think that's the wrong word. Because now as I'm replaying it in my head, I wasn't scared. I just knew to leave that area. Because when I saw the deer, first I walked. Okay, let me tell you how it happened. I walked in, and I've had multiple deer run-ins in this area. But here's what happened. So I walked in, and I felt somebody is here. But I thought it was a person. Someone is here, is what I thought. So she's peeing, and she's doing her sniffing thing, which kills me sometimes. Because in my head, when I'm thinking, okay, we may be in danger, but she want to take her time, I'm like, hurry up. Can you go to the bathroom, pee, doo-doo, whatever you got to do. But what's this branch? What's this? This is new. So I started feeling like an eerie feeling like, okay, I feel like there's a person watching. So I started just looking around. Because, when you're in the woods like that, things can be camouflaged. So I started looking, and then I look, and there's this, how it was right there. And I could just see the ears just doing this little thing like it was a fucking big-ass deer. Just looking straight at me. And I was like, okay. I yanked, because she has a harness. I yanked her because she was wanting to smell around. I said, it's time to go. Jalid, let's go. Let's book. And then I came out, told my partner, I said, let's go. Come on. He was like, what's going on? I said, let's just go. I'll tell you when we get in the house. Because here's what I didn't want. I didn't want it to be like, okay, I'm up here, like in the movies where it's like, oh, girl, there's a deer. No, let's go. I'll tell you once we get inside. Because what if I would have started trying to explain to him when I was too close, and then the thing would have came out and, like, got me and Felice. You know what I'm saying? So I don't have all the answers, you guys. I'm still putting it together. I'm going to put it together as it's developing. But I'm telling you, just know that there is more to this shit than what meets the eye. It doesn't feel like, it's so weird. I don't know how to describe it. It doesn't feel like it. But bitch, you are in a movie. Like, you're being watched. Like, and it might not even be in a vicious way. Maybe people are just taking notes on you and the shit you do and why you do it. But bitch, I'm slowly, I feel like I'm a believer, but now I'm becoming like a real believer because it's starting to become too repetitive, like too back to back. Let me ask y'all another thing before I go. I already told y'all my Aaliyah story about how I low-key feel like, I don't think I killed her, but I do believe I knew she was going to die. Because I was saying prior to her dying that she was going to die. I felt it in my heart. And I kept saying to people, I just wish I could meet her. Because I don't know how she's supposed to die. I just know that I see her dead. And I kept saying to people in my class, like, before, while she was alive, if I could just meet her, I could warn her. I don't know. I don't even know what I would say. I would just say, just be careful. If there's something where it seems like it could be even a little bit dangerous, don't do it. Don't do it. Because something is going to happen to you. And then the day that she died, it's a whole story. I told it on one of the NQ episodes, I'm certain. Or one of the table reads. But make a long story short, just to give you the abridged version, I had created this little doll, this clay doll, put a little bit of hair in it. And then I was going downstairs and had thrown the thing that she was in downstairs. And that was supposed to be an airplane. So I hear this, I'm a kid and I'm pretending like she's in this airplane, and at the top of my stairs I just threw it down the stairs. And then I thought to myself, what if that's how she dies, like a plane accident? What if something like that? What if something crazy? But then I felt like that would be a movie if I was right. If I was right that this young woman is about to die, and that what I was feeling was something that was real, that would be a movie. And you just, even though I kept saying it to people like, y'all, she's in danger, I just don't know how to get to her. Even though I felt like in my spirit something was going to happen to her, then I started thinking, but girl, no. Like, my logical side of my brain was like, girl, that's not, how would she die? How would you know that? How would any person know that? But I did know. And she died that day. That's the kicker. The day that thing when I had that clay person and I threw it down and that was in my head supposed to be her, and then I had this whole story in my head about how she had been killed in a plane accident, and then I sat there at the bottom after I threw her down from the top saying, what if this is how she dies? And then when I had gone to sleep, in my sleep it was on MTV. And I had become so like obsessed with her because when I saw We Need a Resolution, I thought, oh my God, who is this person? I said, wait, is that Aaliyah? Because I wasn't used to seeing her like that. And that sound was just I love the sound. But so anyway, I had become obsessed with her. And I was like, oh my God, this is not good. This is not good. Like right away I felt it. I said, no. This is not good because something's about to happen to this child and I just don't know what to do. Like what I would think if I did run into her and said to her, be careful, she'd think I was crazy. There really was no way for me to stop that from happening, but I knew it was going to happen. I didn't really know it was going to be a plane until after, and even then I didn't know for a fact it was going to be a plane. I just thought, what if it's a plane? I just knew she was going to die. That was the part that I was almost certain about. I just didn't know how. And then on the day she died with what I did, I thought maybe this could be the way, but I wasn't certain. Went to bed, was on MTV. I had recorded her on BET one time back in the day when we used to record things on tapes, bitch. And if I went to my mom's house, I'm sure I could find that tape if I actually went through all of our old bootlegs. I wouldn't call them bootlegs, but if you like to show you were recording on the tape, so I guess it is a bootleg. But the point is, I used to watch that. Her and Selena. There was these two songs. It was No Me Queda Más and We Need a Resolution on the same tape. And I would just rewind, play. And I don't really care how it sounds. I know what happened. And what I'm telling you is, I knew she was going to die. If that is not I don't think I am clairvoyant, because that's the only time I've ever been that right, down to the actual how the person died and the actual day they died. And to be fair, I didn't know she was going to die that day. I just felt she was going to die. So it was just like, I felt like maybe she was going to die that day. Only after I threw her down. I knew she was going to die soon on that day. I thought maybe she would die on that day. When I went to sleep, before I had gone to sleep, I went to sleep watching that tape. Rewinding No Me Queda Más and We Need a Resolution. I had fallen asleep. I found myself partially awake, or waking up rather, and it was on MTV. And they had a thing going at the bottom. I had already missed the name, but I was reading the details of the person they were talking about, and I said, oh my God, I wish there was a literal way to say, strike me if I'm lying. I wish there was a literal way that if I was lying, I would just drop dead right here. Because I just wish that somebody was with me that can say all of this was true. Because right now it's just me telling you what happened. I could be lying right now. I could be, but I'm not. And so I just wish there were one other person that could at least be like, bitch, I was there and bitch, this shit really occurred. As the ticker was going by, I had already missed the name. I did not see the name. I just saw the details. And I was just like, my God, it's Aaliyah. It's Aaliyah. It is fucking Aaliyah. And I felt the shiver go down my spine because I knew. And I was just waiting because, they have a bunch of stories that they do. So I had caught the tail end, killed, plane accident. I said, oh my God, it's Aaliyah. It's Aaliyah. And I said, but maybe it's not her. I didn't want it to be anyone because you don't want anyone to die like that. But I was just thinking it wasn't Aaliyah. It was, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I want to be wrong. It was not Aaliyah. And so I'm waiting for it to spin back around. And when it came back around and it said Aaliyah, I said, I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. I cannot believe this. And she died that day. When I went back into school, everybody thought I was a witch. For a little while. Then they got over it because it was like, oh, it was just a lucky guess. A lucky guess that I've been telling you for at least 2 months. How's that a guess? A guess would be maybe off the cuff. The day Whitney died, I had said something that was kind of off the cuff on the day she died. But I would maybe say that was a coincidence. Aaliyah was not a coincidence because how can it be coincidence when I said it like 2 months before and I kept saying it like, y'all. And people would be like, what is wrong with you? She's fine. She's okay. Why do you keep saying she's going to die? And it wasn't because I wanted her to. I just felt it. Like, if I could meet her, I could then tell her I don't even know what, but I could at least tell her, just be careful. If when you're driving, if you have a driver, just tell him to take his time. There's no rush. If, when you're meeting fans, make sure you have enough security. Like, I don't know if it's going to be a deranged fan, a car accident. I don't know. But I could have at least just said, just keep your eyes peeled. That's all I wanted to do. And I kept saying, y'all, we didn't have social media at that time either. So it was like there was no way for me to even send her a message, nothing. It was just, I just had to sit by and just allow it to happen. That was the part. That is the part. There was literally nothing I can do. Nothing. And so maybe for like however long it was, a month, a few weeks, they thought I was a legit witch. Because I had just said, for 2 months I had been saying it. And then on the last time that they saw me, I was saying it again. Like, y'all think I'm crazy. And I know it sounds crazy because I've been saying it and nothing has happened. But I feel it's close. And it's just, I don't know what to do because it's close. And I don't know, nobody is listening to what I'm saying. Y'all think I'm crazy. See, that goes back to what I was saying. People thought I was crazy because I was just saying something, and and then they're like, you're saying this, but why would she be dead? She's young, she's healthy, she's popping. Like, it's not like she's gonna just, like, why do you keep saying that? And it wasn't like, some people may say, because someone said to me in my class, well, you spoke it into her life. No, I did not speak it into her life. I was trying to speak safety into her life. I was praying over her name. But I felt in my heart that there was something coming to her that I could not stop. Or that she couldn't stop. Like, that is the truth. And what's crazy is, years later, I ended up smoking a blunt with Fatima, her choreographer, at a friend of mine's, his house. I hope that's not bad. I don't want to get him in trouble, or her, or anybody else. But the point is, Fatima was at his house with a number of other girls. And when she came in, I said, oh my God, that's Aaliyah's choreographer. I would never share that story with her because then she may think it's my fault. I think people want to blame someone for that. You know what I'm saying? Because it was such a waste of talent so soon. But when I saw her, I thought, now, why couldn't I have met her then? I could have, if I had met her then. Just now, I'm literally smoking weed. See how everything went full circle? I'm literally smoking a blunt. My lips are touching something that a woman who was like this with Aaliyah, she's right across from me. I remember, like yesterday, thinking if I could just meet her, if I just knew someone who knew her, if I just accidentally ran into her. Years later, I'm in the same room passing a blunt with her choreographer, who was actually supposed to be on that plane. Yeah, magic exists. I know it sounds crazy, it's a lot to absorb, and you don't have to do it overnight, because I didn't even do it overnight. Mind you, that Aaliyah thing happened however long ago. And even then, I knew that I was not crazy because she died, and then it was in a plane on the day that I threw the plane down the thing. And I don't think that was me making her die like a voodoo doll. I don't think that was what it was. And even if that was what it was, that would have been magical. But I don't think that's what it was. Here's what I think it was. I think it was literally the universe just channeling through me in the moment, because I did it early in the day. So I don't know exactly when she died, because I thought she died at night, because that's when I saw the thing. I learned the next day that she had died. That's what made it even more chilling for me. Because then I started thinking, wait, it was like morning/early afternoon when I threw that thing, off the stairs. When did her plane go down? So it's almost like the universe was in the instance. I almost feel like the moment that doll hit the ground is when she probably died. It was just too much. It was just too much of the same. Like, how could I have known that? What could you say to me that would explain how okay, maybe I could, maybe by coincidence I described, or I knew she would die. Maybe by coincidence. Okay. But can you explain to me a logical explanation how I made the doll, the Aaliyah doll, the day she died, put it in this apparatus that in my head I was making a small jet. Like, okay, when it was a small jet, it wasn't even about Rock the Boat though. Like, I wasn't that specific, although I think I was specific enough, let's be clear. But I wasn't saying like, oh, I'm leaving the Rock the Boat shoot and I'm going here. I didn't have it that far in. But because in my head, I was just making it like she was going from one performance to the next, or another interview to the next. And maybe she was going from New York to wherever she was going, and then it just didn't make it to where she needed to be. So I didn't know. When I was acting it out, I didn't know that it was going to be her leaving a music video shoot. But I did have her in a plane. I had already been saying she was in danger. And then I threw the plane down the thing and even said she just died. But it was like, I was just feeling like it was me just acting it out. For her to actually have died that way, there's nothing anybody can explain to me that would make me think that that the universe did not channel that through me. How did I know? Why did I feel? It was a physical response. Physical. It wasn't like, oh, I think, like it was just my imagination, girl. I was literally, I had become a fan. She had just come out with her diary. Like, I remember that period of time like it was yesterday. Like it was yesterday. She was at the VMAs, like it was all these things were going on, and I just kept saying, she's doing too much right now. She's traveling too much. She just needs to chill. Like I just need to meet her. Something's about to happen to her. And everybody's smiling. They don't even see it coming. That's the part. Like, nobody knows something bad is about to happen to this woman. But I knew. When her diary, it was just so heartbreaking. Like, I was just like, she seems like she would be so much fun, and she's not even going to get a chance. Watching that. Now, I didn't know about those other girls. I thought it would just be her. I mean, I guess if in my head, now that I'm thinking out loud, if it was a plane, obviously, at least the pilot has to die, even if it's just you on the plane. But I didn't know. I didn't have any other predictions. I just knew she was going to die. I didn't know that her hair or makeup or anybody else, but her. So anyway, I digress. I'm done talking about that. The only reason why I wanted to give so many details about that again is to show you that we have powers. But we talk ourselves out of it and we make it to where we're wrong. Like, but on that, I know I will never be wrong because I was 1000% correct. I couldn't have been. The only way I could have been more specific is if I said she's in the Bahamas, she's doing a music video, and she's going to die and commute from the Bahamas to Miami. That would have been the only way I could have been more specific. But me saying for 2 months she's going to pass because it's something in my spirit where I feel like I need to warn her. And then on the day she died, I simulated a plane accident with her, involving her, where she died. And then I said she died. And then I kind of snapped out of it and said, wait, what if she really did? What if the way she's going to die really is a plane accident? So at first, it was just like autopilot. Like, I threw it down. I went down to the bottom to retrieve it. And then I'm like reenacting like, Ali, she died. Like, this is it. This is how it happened. And then I'm like, no. How could I? What person could be that right about something like this? Well, I was. I've never done it again. So, I never was able to predict that again. But once should be enough. Like, in my opinion, I feel like once really should be enough. There are some, that's a lie. I did do it before. Let me think. My grandmother was one, because one time I knew she died when I was at my dad's house, and when I came home, I said my grandmother's dead. I knew she was dead. And when I came home, my mom said I have some bad news. I said grandma died. She said, how'd you know? I said, I just knew. Now maybe if she remembers, maybe when I have her on again, I'll ask her about that. So maybe there will be one thing where I can have some proof. I wonder if she were, that was so, I was like, what? How old was I? Like a kid? But she should remember. That was a big enough event where I feel like she should remember that. Because the reason why I felt bad about it is because I had just gotten into a fight with my grandmother. Even though my grandmother was always a big fan of mine, towards the end, she was not a nice person. Or at least when I saw her last, she was not a nice person. But I understand why, because she was old. And what had happened was we had just got our house redone. And she had accidentally peed on the floor. And I think because she had made me mad, I wasn't as compassionate as maybe I could have been. I was also a child. That's no excuse because I knew better. I knew it was wrong, but I was just angry with her. And I guess somewhere in my mind I figured I would just see her again when I visited her in Flagstaff. But what it was, she came to Phoenix. Because she was in Flagstaff, but she came to Phoenix with my aunt, who is my second aunt, or great aunt. I don't know what she would consider, but in any case, this aunt has since passed away as well. Now, I did not predict her passing, my aunt, but I did predict my grandmother. I don't even know if I want to call it a prediction. I just knew she was dead. It wasn't a prediction. I just knew she was dead. And I knew that Aaliyah was going to die. And that's just the truth. Diana, Princess Diana is another one. Now, with her, it wasn't that I had a strong feeling she was going to die. I'm trying to remember what it was with her. It's not that I thought she was going to die. Here's what I remember. Now, with this, I'm sure someone will have a reason to explain it. And to be fair, I will say, maybe, perhaps, you could be right about this one. Although I'm on the fence. I still feel like there was something at work there. But I could see how you could explain this one. But I'll tell you and then we'll get ready to close out. Girl, this table is going on and on. Okay, so Princess Diana, I used to have a bunch of Barbie dolls. Some of you may remember, because I've talked about it. And I had this thing called Barbie Land. And anyway, we had gone to the Renaissance Festival. My mom had purchased me, myself and my siblings, some swords, wooden swords. And she had also purchased me this wooden car that some kind of way, if you tie a rubber band to it. I don't remember how it works because it was this, when Princess Diana died, just do the math, it was that long ago. But some kind of way, if you put a rubber band on it and roll it back, it drives. So I had this doll. And because I had this sword, I was acting like I was a knight and she was under siege and whatever. It was this whole storyline. I was very imaginative as a kid. And I rolled it back and I let it go. And then the car hit the wall. And I simply said, oh, she died. Diana, she's dead. Now, to be fair, because it was so long ago, I'm trying to think if I had actually maybe heard it on TV already, and maybe that's what made me do that. So maybe that was influenced by what I had seen on television. But I do recall that. Now, with my grandmother and with Aaliyah, there was no miscommunication. I predicted that, and I knew it was going to happen. Diana, maybe I predicted it, or maybe I knew, or maybe I had, because she was Princess Diana, Princess of Wales, even though they stripped her of her shit, or tried to strip her of her shit. I was watching something about her on Netflix earlier. Not earlier, but a few days ago. But anyway, so maybe Diana, we can take off my list. But again, one would be enough. But two encounters where you basically are right about someone passing. And like, with my grandmother, I don't know if I predicted her on the day she died, but I knew she was dead. Because when I came home and my mom said I have some bad news, I said, Grandma died. Before she even said it, I said, let me see what time is it? Let me see if I can. She probably won't remember this, but I'm going to just call her up. She probably won't remember. Maybe she will, though. Let me give her more credit. It's only because it was so long ago. My mom, she's a mother of more than just me. You know what I'm saying? So she may not remember all the little things, but to me it was a big deal, though. She may not even be available because it's 2:04. She may be running her class. Hold on, let me just text her first. Before I go off, let me just see if I can let me see if I don't want to call her while she's at work. Let me first. Well, I just text her. Depending on how long, we'll give her, because this table read is so long, but we'll give her like maybe 3 minutes to respond, and then if she doesn't respond, then maybe when universe willing, when we have her back on the show, we will ask her when we see her on this next time, God willing. But I'm telling you, magic is real. I'm only trying to give you all these examples so that you can see. But what I'm saying is, what we do is when we do something that's magical or see something magical, we always have to explain it. It can't just be why can't it just be what you saw or what you think it is? Why do you have to make it to where it's like, okay, no, it wasn't a ghost. No, it wasn't a spirit. No, it wasn't this. No, it wasn't that. When, in fact, it very well could have been that. Maybe it's not, but maybe it is. That's the thing that I'm saying. And all I'm saying is, okay, she hasn't gotten back to me. Maybe I'll do another table read once she is available, and then I'll just record that part of the conversation. I'll let her know that I'm recording, and I'll just record. I wonder if she remembers the whole Aaliyah thing. I made such a big deal about that to everybody. My siblings, my friends, classmates. I didn't have many friends early on when I first moved here because it took me a while to say fuck everyone, I'm just gonna be me. But the point is, I just want y'all to hear from somebody else. And I almost wish I had another person who was not my mom. Even though my mom is a very honest person and whatever, she's not gonna lie for me or anybody else. But unless my life depended on it, you know what I'm saying? Because shit, when I went to jail, it was because they had contacted my mom and she contacted me about basically turning myself in and doing the right thing. So my mom is not going to. That's the reason. Although had I to do it again, girl, I would have just paid it. No shade. But the point is, she did her job to tell me and to say, you need to handle this. You need to figure this out, and you need to turn yourself in. So I get that from my mom, doing the right thing. And sometimes it's like, girl, you being a little too honest up in here. But the point is, I say this not because I'm trying to prove that I, in particular, am magical. I say this because I want to convey the message that we all possess something. I don't know how to pull it out of you. I don't know. But I know that it's there. That should be the exciting part. Work on cultivating your abilities. Work on it. Try to figure out what the fuck they are. Like, maybe some people don't have magic, but some people do, girl. I'm telling you, I believe it. The more time goes on, especially as of late, the more I begin to believe it, the more I'm starting to, like, things are happening. Weird shit. Got my fortune cookie. It said that I was going to get an email, an important email in the next week or within the week. The next day, I got an email about this TV show. Talking about Tichina Arnold and whatever the fuck else she was talking about. You might say it was a coincidence. I don't. Where is that? As I was cleaning up in here, because, hold on 1 second. I'm so mad. Normally, I'm very good at keeping up with my fortune. And I just saw. Oh, sometimes I feel like my partner be low-key feeling some kind of way because my fortunes are always very specific. And then his sometimes can be very like what you would expect a fortune cookie to be. Like, but then again, maybe it's not, because I feel like sometimes he looks at it the wrong way. Because sometimes he'll be like, okay, so when I got my fortune cookie about to be looking out for that email, and then I got the email, his fortune was something like, you need to donate to charity or something like that. And he was like, girl, but I'm like, but maybe that's what you need to do. Like, maybe the fortune is still accurate, girl, but it's just not as specific as mine. But the other thing is, girl, I believe in these fortune cookies, bitch, because I pray over them before I crack them. Maybe that's the reason why I keep getting the good ones. Or not even so much the good ones, but the ones that are telling me real answers. Like, it don't be like, I very rarely get a fortune, because I have gotten them from time to time, but I very rarely get a fortune where it's like, oh, happiness is in the cards, like general. I don't get general fortunes. I get fortunes that are specific. On the second of this month, I've gotten a fortune that told me something like what I was just about to say, like, on the second of this month, you'll meet a woman that is going to change your life. Like, weird shit like that. On the second, what if I don't leave out the house on the second? Will it be a UPS woman and then we just start talking at the opening of my door? Like, that is too specific to be. And then if it happens, see, that's the thing. If it happens, Because it did happen. That's what I'm saying. All the things, I'm basing my feeling that it's real off of what I see. Now, but I think the reason why maybe it's happening is because I believe it can happen. I'm going to start keeping these fortunes, though. And then every time I get one that's really good, I'm going to just put it on camera. And then how we will know it's real is, I should order some Chinese right now, no shade. And then eat my food, pop this fortune cookie open, and then see what it says. And if nothing occurs, then I'm not going to say that means magic doesn't exist. Because it really won't prove that magic doesn't exist. Because then I'd be feeling like, what if the aliens or whoever's in control makes it to where it doesn't happen just to make me look crazy? You know what I mean? Just because it's like, you trying to air us out, girl. You spilling all the motherfucking tea, bitch. So we almost have to make you into a liar in order to preserve what we're trying to preserve. I don't fucking know. I just have a lot of theories. I know it's real. I don't know exactly how it works. It's just a theory. But that being said, I'm going to wrap this thing up because I have 3 table reads. One finally finished uploading. I have a gameplay that I've uploaded, 3 table reads, 3 NQs, this table read, plus I have to do the intro for the main channel because I'm going to be posting on the main channel, giving them a preview with the gameplay to try, to bring more people onto this platform. One of our patrons gave, as Stefan called it, gave us with her business prowess, girl. She just kind of came in, snatched all the wigs, and basically was just like, girl, come on through, do these stop, girl, get up on your game, do these promotions how they need to be done, because bitch, if you get these X amount of patrons, girl, this is how much money you can make, girl, stop playing. And she's right. And so I'm definitely going to get back on my grind. I love you for telling me in a loving way to get on my shit, because you're absolutely correct. So you're going to be getting a lot more material from me, or I won't even say a lot more, but more consistent material from me. I do the best that I can to try to keep up with everything, but it's just going to be way more organized. Today I have my schedule of things that I need to do, and so far it's working. Oh my God. Okay, so my skin, you can't see it from here, but girl, my tan is wearing off. One day I walked all the way from the train to my house just because I wanted to. I could have caught an Uber, but I just wanted to. Well, first I didn't want to. First I just wanted to walk out to where the apartments were so that my Uber would have an easier time finding me. And then once I got to that point, I said, well, let me just walk a little bit more. And then I ended up walking the entire 5 miles or however long it was, girl. It was a long-ass walk, but I had my earbuds in and, hey, you know what I'm saying? But in any case, I don't know where I was going with that. But the point is, I love you guys. Look in the mirror and look in your eyes and be honest with yourself. What do you see? What do you want to see? And let's get about the business of making it happen. It's not easy, you guys. It's not easy. It's not easy. Because sometimes I sit there and I literally try to like wield power. And it's like, okay, nothing happens. So then it's like, okay, girl, maybe I am making this all up. Not the Aaliyah and my grandmother thing. But what if I am actually wrong and magic really does not exist? But maybe it's like, okay, but bitch, you trying to move containers and make shit fly across the room with your mind. But bitch, you haven't even gotten through the basics. So what if it's that? What if I'm just not on that level yet? What if I'm working towards that, girl, but I'm not there yet, girl? Because sometimes when I smoke, I be feeling like if I really wanted to move this jar with my mind, I feel like I could. And then immediately I'll be like, nah, you can't do that. And then I'll try it anyway, and then it won't move. Who knows? Girl, I'm going on and on. Let's wrap this thing up. I love you guys. Let's save some for next time. I know this conversation was far out, but y'all know what I give. I love talking to y'all. And I like to feel like we can talk about things that are not always pop culture, or sometimes can be topical, sometimes can be deep, sometimes can be, uplifting. And that's what we do here. You know what I mean? Like, I feel comfortable to chat about whatever I want to chat about here on this platform, because I feel like you guys number one understand what I'm saying, and you guys want to hear my perspective, and it's just a judgment-free zone. Like, I don't judge y'all for the shit that y'all say here when you're not like attacking anyone. Like, you can't just say whatever you want to the other patrons. And you can't just say whatever you want to me, like in a disrespectful way. But what I'm saying is, let's just say you said you had a situation where you wielded power or you saw something strange. I'm not here to be like I'm not here to do that. Like, I'm here to get number one, to uplift you and to make you smile and make you laugh. That's the first thing. But then the second thing that is to me equally important is to open your mind up to the possibilities, girl. Things that I wish would have happened more for me as a child. And it's no fault of anyone's. We've all been indoctrinated the same way. So what are you to do? Like, it's not like my mom was purposefully trying to stomp the magic out of me, but it's just what happens. You know, you have to grow up. It's time to grow up. You know what I mean? Which is the reason why Peter Pan can be, at times, very poignant, because it's almost like, again, there's so much truth in these cartoons and these movies and shit, and we watch it and it's just like entertainment, but that's the truth. The reason why kids have the most potential is not because they're kids. It's because they're fresh. It's because their minds are open. But the reality of it is, anybody can be that way if they would just open up their mind. You don't have to be a kid to have a childlike wonder, to ask questions, to want to know more, to be intrigued, to go those places that other people won't go. You can do that as an adult. We just choose not to. And then we shun people who do. People who ask questions. They're crazy. They're this, they're that. You know, we love doing that. But what I'm saying is, girl, how much better could life be for us if we actually accepted and actually worked to wield our being, our entire being's full potential. Like, we're yielding the full potential of our brain. Like, we're not just using a percentage. We're not just doing this. We're actually in a very real way. And that power doesn't have to be lightning bolts coming out of your hand. That power can also be, I feel like I have an ability to, number one, I feel like I can low-key bring things back from the dead, and that's not just my feeling. I've actually done it, and that's how I know that I can do it. I've only done it once, but I felt like even before I did it that time that I felt like I could do it. And on the time that I was doing it, the thing that was dead was such a small thing. I figured if it dies for real, like if it stays dead, big deal. It's not like it's a cat or a dog where I'm like trying to kill a cat or a dog just so I can bring it back. No. There was an insect, it was an ant in this pool when I lived in Los Angeles. And I had seen it sinking to the bottom. And well, anyway, I kept trying to catch it. But as I was trying to catch it, because it had already went under, it kept falling out of my hand. You know how it is when you're trying to get something out. So finally, I was able to get it. Now, by this point, that thing was totally dead. Like, its legs were curled in. It was a dead ant. But I said, no, I'm going to bring this ant back. I made it up I literally said, I'm going to bring this ant back. And that's what I did. That ant walked away after I was finished. What it was is, so I brought it on. Its arms were curled in, and it was totally dead. And I put it on the hot ground. I figured if I put it on the hot ground, maybe the heat will, like, reinvigorate the cells. Now, mind you, I don't know if that's what happened. This is just me trying to make a logical argument for something that doesn't have any logic. So anyway, I pulled it out, I put it on the ground, and then I started trying to, like, give it CPR, but not CPR because it's an ant, but here's what I was doing. It was a dead ant. I put it on out of the pool, put it onto the hot cement, or the stone, whatever that you want to call it. While it was there, I started to gently press, and just the body of the ant, focusing on the chest area, but I was pressing, and then blowing. And then I would roll it around, like, can you see what I'm doing on my hand? Kind of roll it around. Then I kind of saw the antler, or not antler, but the antenna move a little bit. And I thought, and it scared me a little bit because I thought, wait, is it alive, or is it just my breath because I'm blowing? Like, maybe it's like this. Like, I'm blowing pretend this is the antenna. So right now it's kind of moving because I have a fan going. But let's just say, can you see what I'm doing here? Let's just say I start blowing. I thought maybe it moved because I blew it and it moved. But then I kept going after I got myself together. And I kept going. And then the leg started to come out. Like, started to have motion. And then I backed off. And I just kept blowing. I didn't squeeze it or press it anymore. I just kept breathing. And the ant all the legs started moving. And then it flipped itself over and walked away. Before I did that, I felt like I could do that. I just never tried. That was my first time trying, and it worked. I have also felt that if I went to hospitals for people who are near death, that I could transition them, talk to them to where they would feel like I'm ready to go. Because they would know that there would be something else. I almost feel like I want to do that, so that don't be afraid. Like for people who we know, not people who can still survive. People who are totally gonna die like soon. I be wanting to like go to their hospital room and just let me just talk to her and lay hands on her, so that, because I feel like I can bring things back from the dead, but it can't be like super severe. I can only probably bring it back if it's not like a serious illness, and if it can't be like you're bleeding out, because I can't do anything about that. You can't be mortally wounded or sick. So, but I feel like if you've drowned, I can definitely bring you back for sure. That's probably the only thing I'm confident that I can bring you back. And when I say drowned, I don't mean like you just were underwater for a long time. I mean you're dead and they pull you out of the water, and it can't be unrealistic. You can't be dead for 3 days, bitch. I can't work a miracle. But if you've been dead for like, let's just say 10 minutes, I feel very confident that for 10 minutes I can bring you back in. 10 minutes you've been dead, maybe even 30 I can bring you back in. Even though I know that sounds impossible, in my spirit, I feel like if I were ever in a scenario where somebody had been drowned and they had recovered the body, I would almost feel like, even though there's a doctor on set, let me come on in because I can save her. If the person is already dead, what do you have to lose? Let me try because I can do this. I know that sounds crazy. This sounds so crazy. Anyway, listen, people are going to take it however which way they want to take it. Y'all know me well enough to know that I'm well within my right mind. I'm just very open. See, there's a difference. I'm in my right mind, but my mind is open. There's a difference. See, people, I just had an epiphany. People say, oh, she done lost her mind. And even I've said this. Oh, she is not in her right mind. What if? Wow. When people say that to you, what they're really saying is you're going outside of the norm. That's what that really means. Because it's like, while I'm sitting here and I said, y'all know I'm in my right mind. It's almost like I had to say that so that you would know that even though I'm saying something that is not normal or something that is not typically talked about in this way maybe, that I'm still me. I'm not like this like I'm not like legit like sitting in the middle of my pond in my backyard. It was technically my backyard, but there's a pond outside my window, big ass pond. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like the shit that is occurring are things that are either happening against my will, things that I knew in advance, or that ant, which is a big deal for me. Even though it was just an ant, it was a dead ant. I'm telling y'all, it was dead. It was totally curled up. All of its legs were curled. It was dead. And I sat there for maybe 2 minutes. Maybe it felt like 2 minutes, but it was like a minute. I don't know how long it was. But pressing it, rolling it, then just blowing. And she came to life, girl, and she walked away. That's not an opinion, or that's not what I think happened. That's what happened. Because when she started to sink, the ant was so far down, it was by my knee. Like, it was far enough down. That ant was dead, girl. She wasn't moving at all. By the time she started sinking like that, she was by my knee. Not literally by my knee. I'm saying that's how deep into the water she was. So, girl, she was dead. That ant was totally dead, girl. Totally dead. So, anyway, I said all that, girl. I'm going to wrap up for real this time. I love you guys down. You already know the drill. VS, the Blanche, the best will always come through. And as always, until next time, baby. That's all.